After reading the Bleach manga, this was me. Contemplating my life's choices and wondering where did it all go wrong. To say that I wasn't disappointed would be lying. And I even criticized the announcement of Bleach, saying to everyone that would listen, even the village homeless guy, Bleach coming back would be a huge disappointment. But you know what he said to me? Give it a chance, son. And also, can I have a 50? So I woke up and put on my big boy pants and tuned in to the long-awaited episode of Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War. And yeah, it was pretty goddamn cool. A wave of nostalgia hit with fond memories of this anime growing up. Not only that, it was trending on Twitter, Instagram, and even the long-lost app, Snapchat. But before we all get too excited, are you ready to go crazy? Pump your brakes just a little. The community all came together and we collectively held our breaths because we didn't want to say this early that Bleach was actually good again. We didn't want to say that it did better than the manga counterpart. So did Bleach finally live up to its long-awaited return? Did it live up to the hype and shatter all expectations? Let's take a look at this batch of episodes and see. The 2022 fall anime season was packed to the brim with anime, so much so that fans were launched into the stratosphere of several new worlds beyond what any one brain could handle. That or everyone was high on anime like crack. I myself wondered how would I find the time not only to watch all these anime, but to make videos on them, whether I liked it or hated every last piece of shit. But when Bleach aired, my jaw dropped. It was spectacular to say the least. The timing, the atmosphere, the animation. And I wondered to myself, is this simply nostalgia? Was I genuinely happy to see an anime I love as a kid come back and get all the love that it deserves? Or did Bleach stand alone on its own category in its own anime? In order to fully appreciate this, I thought to myself I would need to continue watching until I saw this, Yuha versus Yama. And it was at this moment that I was truly convinced the anime did much better than its manga counterpart. Now, if you aren't a fan of Bleach and probably don't know what happened in this core, I'll break it down for you as best as I can. And yes, that's pretty much it. Personally for me, I found the manga to be rushed and had a lot of unanswered questions, especially in the fighting areas and why certain things needed to happen. A great example of this would be Kenpachi versus Unohana. These two warriors faced off with blood-soaked blades. One a ghost of the past, too stubborn to pass the mantle, and another egging for battle, wanting to prove his might to the current. Only one would survive, but who would it be? This epic clash in the manga was no more than a few panels, or maybe a page or two. But what we got in the anime was a stunning fight fest, filled with Sakuga, heart, and an ass whooping. Oh, and there was some banter passing from one generation to the next that could only be appreciated in animation form. On top of that, now at the end of the first core, we got promises of even better animation and additional fight scenes that weren't in the manga, which couldn't have been better news. As in the manga, most of the fight scenes happened off screen and we only got to see the aftermath of what happened. With the Yuha versus Yama fight, I could go over it a million times, but in the end, the clash speaks for itself, with it being praised as not only the best animation Bleach has produced, but one of the best fight scenes of the year. And that's saying something when it's compared to this masterpiece. To metaphorically add some more sugar to the pot, we got an amazing reveal that Ichigo is a Quincy and Zangetsu is not who he claims to be. Truly something to behold. I never thought that in my lifetime, I would see Bleach get all its glory. Now, it's not to say the previous Bleach episodes were total shit, but compared to today's standard of animation and sheer cleanness of the art, it would need a lot of work to get up to today's standards. And we know the Bleach production has been rocky ever since the beginning. Bleach itself has gone through many reanimations. But in the case of Bleach, even though it's taken up to 20 years, it's finally made it to the apex of animation, with love poured into every pixel. Every moment and more is on the horizon for Bleach fans everywhere. I can't wait, but don't just take my word from it. I've invited one of my fellow YouTubers, Sanjay, to talk about this and what are his thoughts on this cluster of episodes for Bleach and more to come. So let's jump into that interview. So the first question is a two-part question. Let's start at the beginning. What were your first initial thoughts knowing how the manga progressed about the announcement of the new Bleach season to be aired in fall 2022?
To be honest, when it comes on to the Bleach manga, the 1,000-Year Blood War and how it progressed, I thought it was awesome, coming off the Fullbring arc, which, it wasn't my cup of tea, so the 1,000-Year Blood War was definitely a nice and a welcome change of pace. The manga progressed fine, but in the grand scheme of things, looking back at it now, I think a lot of the lore that would have made the viewers, or me myself, care about it, or at least the world of Bleach that much more, it was really and truly missing. You know, things regarding like the Soul King and the origins of the three worlds originally being one, just Soul Society, all of that. You know, things to really link back to Aizen. Overall, it was an awesome arc, but it was just missing, it felt like it was missing the main course of it. And that's odd to say, I know, given everything that happened. I think the fact that we don't really get the true motivations of the antagonist, Yuha, until the very end kinda speaks to this.
I pretty much had the same thoughts as well. I didn't even find out about the history of Bleach until I ended the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War in the manga and found out that there were more, such as in the light novels and Bleach Can't Fear Your Own World and stuff like that. Now let's move on to the next question. Now that you've completed the first core, what are your thoughts on how it progressed, and do you think the anime did it better?
To be honest, when it comes on to the anime adaptation for Bleach the 1000-Year Blood War, it was awesome. Honestly, after 10 years, hiatus, being cancelled, however you want to phrase it when it comes on to Bleach, like the quality of the production, like it really shows. Opening up and just watching episode 1, you can tell that some love has truly been poured into the anime adaptation of it. Now, compared to the manga and how it progressed versus the anime and how it progressed, I think what I mentioned in terms of my problems with the manga and how it progressed, it's how the anime progressed essentially proves my point, because there are, as you saw yourself, tidbits in the anime where they've changed stuff, they've dropped the more cultured content. But that aside, we see them actually doing measures to kind of set up things as compared to how the manga did it. Case in point, in terms of Uryu and the additional scenes that actually help to set up his whole transition and movement throughout the arc, or at least the early portion of it, compared to the manga. So I think the anime definitely did it better, personally speaking, and this is just, you know, of course, subjective opinion. You know, it'd be nice to incorporate all the material from the manga with the additional things they added, but due to Kubo, it's seemingly, you know, giving the director the, you know, the authorization to drop the cultured content. It is what it is. But I think the anime overall has been doing it better than the manga.
As a man of culture, I can I can see with you on that one. And I know, I personally know that your most anticipated scene is that Thunder God scene coming up. And we're hoping and praying to the gods.
Kubo, help, please. Make it happen.
Okay, so there has been an announcement that Cour 2 will be far better in animation, and the season will have additional fights. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's perfect. For those of you who may watch the content on my channel, you know I do a lot of Boruto content, and I usually talk about either the anime, the manga starting too early, or pacing issues, or some things regarding production when it comes on to Boruto. Now, if I were to translate it into actually answering this question, the thing is about Cour 2, and what I can remember from that stretch of the manga, there will be a lot of fights, and even if, say, a fight took, say, 2 to 3 chapters, you could honestly cover that in one episode. Because, I mean, compared to reading versus watching, of course, things will be flowing much faster. So you actually have the opportunity to fit in additional dialogue, additional content, just to flesh out material even more. I mean, it's just a logical thing. So if you have the extra screen time, why not make use of it? And given that it's a battle-heavy section of the arc, I mean, it's the second invasion of the Quincy, of course, getting like superb animation even more so than Cour 1, I think that's a given. And, you know, personally speaking, just to kind of go off on a small tangent here, I personally was kind of expecting there would be a 3-month break between the arc, well, the course. But, you know, looking at it now, 6 months to kind of finish polishing up animation or a battle heavy section of the arc makes sense. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, and it makes sense with what they've hyped us up for, what they've announced in terms of what to expect for Cour 2.
There have been some fights that have been skipped, like Ikaku and Yumichika battling against the Stern Ritter, so we are excited if that would be shown. Maybe they can spare half an episode or so just to show us some of Unohana's backstory. I don't know. I just really want to see more. Now for our next question. Do you truly believe that Bleach has come back to take its crown? A good comparison would be based on what you've seen with the Yuha versus Yama fight. It's been compared as being one of the best fights of the year, even going up against contenders like the Demon Slayer fight.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Bleach has returned to take its crown. It's kind of like a long running story, right? And you have viewers that are invested for years upon end. When you've built upon story beat upon story beat upon story beat, when you get to say the final arc of something, the author doesn't really have to try too hard or to kind of evoke too much emotion out of the viewer, since they've been invested for a long time, whether it be positive or negative in terms of the writing. But the point is, a lot of love has been poured into Bleach when it comes on to waiting, in terms of supporting it and everything over these last 10 years, and it shows. So even if from a writing perspective, which we've discussed before, that the 1,000-Year Blood War isn't necessarily perfect, but all the love that's been poured into it from the fans and the animation studio when it comes on to production, it makes a statement every week when it comes out. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever the case may be, persons are sharing and talking about Bleach, and that synergy, I would say, honestly, it does well to actually put Bleach back on its throne as one of the big three, even with stellar animation from Demon Slayer, and the fact that over these last 10 years we've had other up and coming rising stars in terms of new series. So honestly, Bleach still stands out, and it's reminding everyone why it was one of the big three. So definitely say it's come back to take its crown.
Personally, I believe that as good as the Yama versus Yuha fight was, and many praising it as the best fight of the year, I think Demon Slayer still took the crown. And maybe we could put Bleach in second place, because I haven't seen anything that can contend with this stellar animation. All in all, it just makes us even more excited to see Cour 2 and to see what else they can pull off. Now for our final question. Being that Bleach made such waves even with Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man last year, do you believe that this year, even with announcements of bangers like Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, Solo Leveling, and Jujutsu Kaisen, that Bleach will manage to stand out just the same or more?
I would say yes, it will manage to stand out just the same, because the thing is, back to my previous point about like the synergy between the fans and social media and everything that happens when they post every week after an episode. I think honestly that alone, in conjunction with the extra work they're putting in for Cour 2, will put it on the same level as the bangers for this year, because at the end of the day, you can only judge Series A versus Series B on how well each series accomplishes what it sets out to do. And I think in the grand scheme of things, with all the the changes and the production quality that's going into Bleach, I think Bleach will manage to accomplish what it sets out to do really well. And the synergy from the fans is just going to be up there with the greats of 2023, to say the least, honestly speaking. So yeah, even with Attack on Titan, who we know I'm a big fan of, and Demon Slayer and everything else that's coming out, Bleach is going to be there as well. Like every week, people will be talking about it, honestly.
I also definitely believe that Bleach will stand out even more, seeing that they have this big announcement that will get even better animation, and if that's even compared to Yuha versus Yama, then Bleach is definitely here to stay, definitely come back to take its crown, even in the face of these brand new anime popping up everywhere. It's certainly going to be an exciting year for us anime fans, and I literally just can't wait. I don't think I can keep up with everything, but I am looking forward to it. So there you have it, folks. The man, the myth, the legend himself says Bleach is here to stay. This season of Bleach has done more than enough to convince us plebeians that there is much more in the future indeed for Bleach, and that it's definitely here to stay and got a bright future on the horizon. Anyways, I think I've said enough in this video to warrant a like and subscribe, don't you think? And also go over to Sanjay's channel and check out some of his videos. My name is Kyle. Thank you again for joining, and peace out, V Nation.